LeBron James royally screwed the Miami Heat on his way out the door in 2014, costing them a chance to draft a future Hall of Famer. Millions of sports fans have forgotten, but I haven't. So buckle up, Buttercup, because I'm going to tell you about how LeBron James stuck it hard to Pat Riley and the Miami Heat. It's June of 2014, and the Miami Heat were at a franchise crossroads heading into the NBA draft. They just lost the NBA Finals in 5 games to the San Antonio Spurs, which hardly told the whole story. Aside from getting the gentleman's sweep, the Heat's lone victory was by 2 points, while San Antonio won the other 4 games by 72 points combined, the largest point differential margin in NBA Finals history. LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, and Udonis Haslem were all poised to hit the free agent market, and keeping the core together was of paramount importance to Heat president Pat Riley. And the most critical piece to keep in place was the most talented player on the roster, King James. With some considerable uncertainty about LeBron's next move, the Heat were in a rough spot. Yes, they took a body shot in the finals, but keeping LBJ meant that the team would be in position to contend for several years. Wade, Bosh, and Haslem were even willing to take less money to ensure that the Heat could keep the roster intact and that James could receive a max contract to stay in Miami. The plan after that was simple: keep the core together, add some pieces, and chase more rings. But LeBron had other ideas. And on June 24th, 2014, just 2 days before the NBA draft, his agent, Rich Paul, told the Heat LeBron was opting out of the final 2 years of his deal, and he was hitting free agency. This put the Heat into panic mode. They needed to show LeBron that they were serious about the future and their desire to keep him as the centerpiece of their team moving forward. And that's where Shabazz Napier enters the picture. Drop a comment right now and let me know if you remember this bit of LeBron James history. Shabazz Napier had just led the University of Connecticut to the 2014 national title, winning the Final Four Most Outstanding Player award in the process. During his incredible run, he proved that he was a tough, experienced point guard with the ability to lead and, most importantly, the clutch gene. With the organization making a concerted effort to keep the Akron Hammer in South Beach, Pat Riley couldn't afford to ignore this tweet from James regarding the upcoming draft and his love for the UConn point guard. But off an incredible run through the 2014 NCAA tournament, and with the Heat picking 26th, it was really anybody's guess if Napier was going to last that long on the board. LeBron, he was all in on the kid publicly. Even during the tournament, he was tweeting stuff like, "No way you take a point guard in the lottery before Napier." After the draft, he even doubled down. "My favorite player in the draft, #Napier." Pat Riley flew to work Napier out personally right after the finals. The Heat were aggressive. Very aggressive. Reports at the time were crystal clear. This wasn't just about adding a backup point guard. This was the Heat trying to court LeBron, showing him they were building with young talent that he liked. An almost desperate please stay gesture. But LeBron said he never consulted with the Heat on the pick, he just hyped the player. And when he did, the Miami Heat jumped. When the Charlotte Hornets selected Shabazz ahead of Miami with the 24th pick, the Heat had to make a move to appease the king. And they did, sending their 26th pick, their second round pick, and an additional 2019 second rounder to the Hornets in return for the player that LeBron James coveted. Now, these moves are on the back end of the first round, and obviously there was a drop in talent from the early selections. So it's not like the Heat blew a lottery pick here. But the 2014 draft saw some impact players chosen late. In fact, there were several who went on to have solid, sometimes decade-long NBA careers. Houston Rockets forward and 2021 NBA rebounding leader Clint Capela was chosen with the very next pick after Napier. Jordan Clarkson, who contributed to this year's Knicks championship run, Jerami Grant, Bogdan Bogdanovic, two-time NBA three-point shooting leader Joe Harris, all solid contributors on NBA rosters for several seasons, were still available in this draft at pick 24. So there were plenty of talented players who could have shored up the Heat roster, if not Hall of Famers. I mean, only 2 NBA drafts since the lottery was instituted back in 1985 who made the Hall of Fame directly as a result of their NBA careers drafted in the second round. That would be 1986 with Dennis Rodman and 1999 with Manu Ginobili. So slim chance that anyone was available that late that would end up being a surefire Hall of Famer. Yes, not so fast, my friend. Turns out there was Hall of Fame talent available late in this draft. Dang, the Joker was around until pick 41. Look, we don't know if Nikola was on Riley's radar, and we don't know who the Heat would have selected without James's meddling. We do know that several players left in this draft went on to have meaningful NBA careers, and one of those is a surefire Hall of Famer that the Miami Heat missed out on because LeBron James forced their hand. We also know that for all of Napier's collegiate-level heroics, he averaged just 5.1 points in his only season with Miami before getting traded. The Shabazz pick is widely viewed by Heat fans as a bust relative to what they gave up. LeBron's draft pick of choice was sent packing in 2015 for a late, heavily protected second-round pick. The selection of Shabazz Napier was seen as a step in the process of convincing James to stay in the 305, along with his teammates agreeing to take less money, and Pat Riley calling out James in a press conference after the NBA Finals. Okay, well, that last part didn't help, but Riles got out in front of all of the growing speculation toward LeBron's future with a quote that sounds like a pep talk he would have given the 1994 Knicks. This stuff is hard, and you've got to stay together if you've got the guts, and you don't find the first door and run out of it. Oh, Pat Riley, let me introduce you to LeBron James, who, besides being an MVP basketball player, is an expert finder and runner out of doors, something that you helped facilitate only a few short years back. Not only did you know how this movie was going to end, Pat, you ate popcorn and cheered through the previews, because it was with your help that James ran out the door in Cleveland in 2010. And the hypocrisy here, because also Pat Riley, let me introduce you to Pat Riley. 15 years before LeBron spurned an entire city and fan base by taking his talents to South Beach, you screwed over an entire city and fan base when you took your talents to South Beach. Just who the hell were you for calling out anyone for leaving when the going gets tough? Back in 1995, Pat Riley, you didn't just find the first door when you left New York, you gnawed a hole through the drywall next to it like a rat. Calling out anyone for the same move, that's just LeBron-esque levels of hypocrisy. Pat Riley should have had nothing to say about franchise jumping when it suits one's personal interest. LeBron may have waited until after his decision went public to call you Pat Riley, but that's still better than sending it in through a fax machine, you Judas. Pat Riley screwed over New York City the same way. And for those of us who understood the King's nature, LeBron didn't disappoint anybody. I mean, he did disappoint Pat Riley and the Heat organization, but not anyone remotely familiar with who he is and what he does. After twisting the arm of the Miami Heat to spend their draft capital on a player he wanted, LeBron James pieced out anyway. What a dick move. Even if you thought you might be leaving the franchise, why coerce them into spending valuable draft capital to pick up the guy you wanted? That's kind of kneecapping the friends of yours that are still on the team. That's kind of like going to a pet store with a girl you're on the rocks with, convincing her to get a dog, and then dumping her a few months later, leaving her with the dog that you wanted, one that serves as an ever-present reminder of how she couldn't keep you around. Who does shit like that? So what was the aftermath here? For the Heat, they lost their superstar, and they had to rebuild from a weakened position, minus some valuable draft capital and a chance at selecting a Hall of Famer. LeBron, it seems, got his revenge for Riley insinuating that he was gutless in that press conference. As for Pat Riley, he was angry after LBJ's sudden exit. Look at this quote. "I didn't say anything. My mind began to just go. And it was over. And I was very angry when LeBron left. It was personal for me. It just was." But it wasn't just LeBron's determination to move on that left him upset. The ongoing spectacle with all the attention and the circus that surrounded the Heatles' Big Three, Miami Heat, and the days of rolling with a championship contending team were suddenly over. What was left was a squad that was built to contend now with LeBron, with players that the King wanted, and who Riley thought would help him and the team win quickly. A squad that would prove to be unable to capitalize on the final prime years of Dwayne Wade's career. The eventual teardown and rebuilding process would be long and arduous, and it certainly didn't help to have traded away valuable capital in a deep draft for a player hand-picked for the recently departed King. But one thing is clear. The 2014 offseason exposed just how much power LeBron James wielded and how the Heat's desperation played right into it. So what do you think? Was this a cold-blooded chess move by LeBron, or just smart business and a guy who ultimately just followed his heart back home? Hey, you've watched this long. Stop what you're doing and leave me a comment. It could be, "Hi RBS, this was fantastic. This sucked." I don't care. Just comment and say something. And if you enjoyed this particular example of LeBron James being an awful human being, then check out the rest of my channel. I've got more stories just like this, flop compilations, and lots of pro sports stories. Here's one that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. Just click on the link below this video and I'll see you there. And don't forget to subscribe to Red Blooded Sports.